So, ladies, have you ever wondered what men really want once they hit midlife? After divorce, after heartbreak, and after finally figuring out who they truly are, the answers might surprise you. So, today I'm putting Tony in the hot seat to share what attracted him to me, but also to share what men might be looking for in a midlife relationship from women.
Yes, and I was not tricked into this interview. Just have you guys know that. I have absolutely no idea what questions Lisa is about to ask me.
Welcome to Saying Yes Again.
A podcast about second chances, real love, and opening your heart after heartbreak.
We're your hosts, Dr. Lisa,
And Tony.
a midlife couple who found love after divorce. And now we're here to share our story.
And to remind you that it's never too late to say yes again.
So put on your headphones and listen closely because your next yes could be the one that changes everything. Okay, so welcome back to Saying Yes Again. I'm Dr. Lisa.
And I'm Tony.
And this episode kicks off a two-part series. So today is all about what men want from women in midlife. And next week, we'll be flipping the script. And Tony will be interviewing me and asking me what women want from men in midlife.
Exactly. And I'm about as ready as any man could be when his wife is asking the questions and she's holding the mic.
Okay, because I was getting ready to ask you, are you ready to represent the men? Because I'm ready to go.
I am ready to represent for the fellas and myself. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
Okay, babe. So let's start here. So I remember us having a conversation when we were dating early on, and you
Yes.
mentioned a couple of things about, what was attractive to you, right, in midlife. And so we're going to talk about some of those things. So remember that you told me before one of the things that you really wanted most from a woman was stability and peace.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, let's face it, babe. At this stage in our life, I'm sure the fellas can agree, drama can be exhausting. The
Mm.
chaos can be exhausting. You know, when we come home at the end of the day, we want to not be unrealistic, but we just want to be able to take a deep breath,
Mm.
wind down,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
minus the drama.
Minus the drama.
And for the most part, you ladies provide that for us. But this is what's important to us at midlife,
Yeah. Okay, I get
you
it.
know?
I
So,
think that's powerful. And I think you're right. I think women probably want that too, but I get that, men seek that a lot. And we hear
mhm.
that in circles a lot, right? Because I mean, after divorce, peace becomes really something that's important. It's actually the thing that I think draws people
Oh,
together,
that's
right?
that's what drew me to you.
Oh,
When I came over, it was nothing but tea and tranquility.
Oh, and for women listening, I mean, it really doesn't mean that, we have to be quiet or we can't express ourselves or anything like that. It just means that, we have to sort of just keep check of, what peace looks like in our home and not have this constant back and forth, of this turbulence that's going on all the time.
Exactly. We don't want any of that.
Yeah. Okay, so another thing that you mentioned that we'd like to talk about, I'd like for you to talk about,
Yes.
is wanting a safe space, right? And I think that for men, you don't say that. Like, I'm looking for a woman who provides a safe space. You don't use those words. But so, what did that actually mean for you when you said that?
I wanted to more or less just be able to make mistakes, you know, without being trivialized or put down or held captive or whatever. Just free from judgment or whatever. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
yeah.
You're already struggling after you've gone through a divorce, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm gonna obviously do my best to take care of my responsibilities, etc. But how about providing a space where you're not always being judgmental or being held,
Mm,
accountable to this or that? That's all we
yeah.
want, you
Yeah.
know?
That's a big one. I think, safety is definitely a form of emotional intimacy, right? It's a way for couples to really kind of bond.
Hmm.
And I think vulnerability is hard for men. So,
It is.
Creating that safe space, I think, provides the space, for lack of a better word again, for you to do that. And I think that's how trust is built, right?
Definitely, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot more out of us if it were provided this safe space.
Yes.
You know, the
Yes.
vulnerability will be coming, right? Vulnerability will
Yes.
be coming.
Yes. Vulnerability is definitely important. So, okay, so now let's talk about another thing that you mentioned, and it was around this topic of leadership. And I think that's a big topic that's often talked about in marriages. It's like, who's supposed to lead? Does the man lead? How does he lead? But you said you wanted to take the lead sometimes, and not in a controlling way, but in a partnership kind of way. So, can you explain that? How do you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, like most men, I enjoy being the guy, take the lead or whatever. But um, I'm also capable of sharing that responsibility, that leadership
Mm,
responsibility with my mate. I don't think that it has to be a gender type situation, right? And for the most part, we do that. We share responsibility. We share that leadership responsibility flawlessly.
mhm.
And I think it works out quite well.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think it does. I think for the most part, though, most women may not say it, but they want their man to lead, right? And I
yes,
think that it's important to provide that space to
yes,
allow the man to lead.
yes.
But I think also, like you mentioned, maybe there's a particular thing, area that the woman may just have kind of more, take on it, or whatever. And you want
Yeah.
that to be a shared decision making or a shared, like you mentioned, responsibility. So,
I remember, babe, talking to a buddy of mine, and I was telling him, obviously, I won't give any names on air or whatever, but I was telling him, I said, it's so refreshing, this shared leadership role that Lisa and I have. I said, 9 times out of 10, she already has the answer. She has the solution or whatever. But she will like kind of camouflage that, allow me the perfect opportunity of leading certain situations
mm,
before unveiling, like, I know the answer, I know how to do it, or whatever. And I said, she probably doesn't think that I'm aware of this or cognizant of this. I said, but well, I'm letting you know today on our podcast, saying yes again, that I am aware that you do that. But I respect it so much.
oh,
I respect it so much. And
mhm,
it makes me feel more comfortable. It allows me to respect this whole leadership thing in a whole nother stratosphere, if you will. So
yeah, another
good
level.
job, babe. But I'm pulling
Oh.
your card today. I'm aware of what you're doing now, but it's okay. I approve.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's important. Again, it's balanced, right? I'm not trying to just, throw my shoulders around or anything. And it's balanced. And I love it. I love it as well.
Good, good.
So, another thing that you shared is how much you value having shared desires and growth, right?
Hmm.
So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, for the most part, I didn't feel like dragging someone along and bestowing my all of my goals onto them, but I wanted to dream together,
Mm,
right? Beyond vacations, beyond short-term goals, you know what I mean? And again, in your Sausalito way,
Sausalito,
right?
that word.
You've encouraged me into a state of refinement that is just so tantalizing, because before I even knew what was going on, I was swept away by your entire process, right? And what I realized is that I started, looking beyond eye level goals and looking out into the stratosphere. And I said,
Mm,
by God, I think my babe is pulling me up, and I do that to you. I challenge you in certain areas or
absolutely.
whatever that causes you to grow, so
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love that. And I think, we need that, as far as this whole, power structure is concerned. We need that.
Yeah.
You encourage me, you cause me into a state of refinement, and I do the same thing for you.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it work.
Definitely. Definitely. So now do you look at a little differently that question about where do you want to be or see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's some more stuff she did, right? She started learning, and I would strongly suggest this lady. She started learning who Tony Gowdy is.
Hmm.
And she's also became, excuse me, progressively introduced to my love language. So what I mean by that is she started to modify her approach. Initially, what are your five non-negotiables, or where do you see yourself in 5 years, that sort of thing. And I'm looking at her like, so then she kind of slowed down, got to know me, and kind of manifested that same where do you see yourself in 5 years? And it was far more pleasant and less callous as it was
Hmm.
from the onset of our relationship. So good job. Good job. Good
Oh
job.
my
She don't
gosh.
think I'm aware of what's
Whole
going
piece of
on.
work. But anyway, so that's the beauty of midlife, right? The beauty of it is that we get
Yes,
to rewrite our story. We get to do things differently than what we maybe
exactly.
have done previously. We've learned right from the past and we know kind of
Mhm.
hopefully now how to manifest, what we want to see in our partner, what our partner wants to see in us. So
Yes,
that when couples, grow together instead of apart, it keeps the relationship spicy.
exactly.
Okay, so last one. I'm loving this interview.
I am too.
Okay, so last one. So you said you didn't want a relationship, and I remember this. I so remember this. You said you didn't want a relationship with a rule book, right? So when you say that, what did that look like for you? What did that mean?
Well, again, this is where I'm reminded of those gender role responsibilities, right? Sometimes I feel like that could really strangulate the organic energy in a marriage. You know what I mean? Um, I'll give you a perfect example, babe. The other day, I cooked. It doesn't happen all the time, but I cooked. You know what I mean? You did the laundry. I cooked. The other day, you were out there doctoring on the plants, and I came out, kind of taking things off the plant that didn't need to be there anymore, whatever. Um, so that's flexibility.
Mhm.
Sometimes I drive when we go out, sometimes you drive. We go to the grocery store, I push the cart. You pick out the groceries. That flexibility is so refreshing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it just takes the handlebars off the relationship. At midlife, I think we're beyond the training wheels, right? Sometimes we need to be, encouraged to go to a whole nother level, as we mentioned before. And she did
Mhm.
it in a manifested way. But I think, that flexibility factor, handlebars, training wheels, they need to be gone, right?
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
need to just, you know,
Yeah, step in and just kind of do
step
what
in
needs
when
to be
needed.
done. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely. And I don't think it means that, or it doesn't mean rather that there aren't still maybe some things that kind of men may do and some things that women may do, but they don't have to
Exactly.
be defined. Like doesn't have to be like a line drawn. Like
Right.
you can only do that. I can only do this.
Doesn't
So
have to be a chalk line, baby.
exactly.
Right?
Yes. So flexibility is key.
Yes.
Flexibility is key.
Definitely.
And I think the healthiest couples make their own rules, right? They decide what that looks like. And it
Yes.
doesn't make it right or wrong. It just what works for them and for
Well,
you.
what works for them. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So to recap, now that you've shared
Yes.
what men really want in a relationship, to recap the 5 traits. So the first, peace and stability.
Mhm.
Okay. So no more drama, ladies. Like Mary J. Blige said, no more drama.
No more drama.
Second is a safe space, right?
Yes.
So men really want that safe space where they can be vulnerable.
They may not want to tell you that, but they really
Really want it.
quietly in their own little private minds, they just want safety, right? A nice, safe little space. So, help them out,
Help them
ladies,
out.
right?
Third is balanced leadership. So the fact that, it's a partnership, right? And
Definitely.
sometimes, the man may be in that role. Sometimes the woman may be in the role, right? Or you guys just kind of decide what that looks like.
Yeah, it's just like Beyonce and Jay-Z. They both are at the top of their game, right? Oh man,
Absolutely.
phenomenal. So
Absolutely. shared growth and desires. So that's another thing that you mentioned. I think that's important, right? So that the two people come together, couples grow together instead of apart, and you kind of, decide again what those shared desires and what that growth looks like in your relationship.
Exactly.
And then the last is flexibility. So we're not kind of adhering to those roles, back from the 1950s or wherever,
Now that's outdated.
but that we're just defining what those roles look like for our relationships.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, babe, you've given the ladies some real insight, I think, into what men are looking for in midlife.
Great, great. We want our relationships, our marriages, and everything to be to improve. We don't want to be misunderstood, and that was the reason why we chose to deal with this subject matter in this respect, right, babe?
Yeah,
To add some clarity, some clarification.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
So, here's our challenge to you. Our challenge is reflect on what we talked about and reflect on which of these you already bring to the relationship. But think about which ones you can sort of turn up a little bit or that you can actually nurture, right? And just kind of let us know in the comments. Share that with us. What did you take away from this episode? And don't forget, next week, we're flipping the script. So I'm going to be in the hot seat. Tony's going to be asking me the questions about what women are looking for from the men. So make sure that you tune in for that.
And spoiler alert, we're not going to be talking about taking out the trash.
But that's probably on the list, huh? Taking out the
Probably,
trash.
probably is. Probably is.
Okay, so before we wrap up today, we want to invite you to become part of our Saying Yes Again community. So if you're not
Yes.
already part of our
Yes.
community, please join us.
Please.
And if you found value in today's episode, we'd be so grateful if you would subscribe to our podcast. And you can subscribe where, babe?
YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio,
Yes, and Spotify.
Spotify.
And don't forget to leave us a review. So your support helps other people who might be in similar situations find this community. You can also follow us on all social media at Saying Yes Again. And don't forget, again, next week we're flipping the script. So make sure that you tune in. You don't want to miss it.
Lisa will be in the hot seat. Okay? Right. So until then, remember that healing isn't just possible, it's the path to your most authentic love story.
Yes. So I'm Dr. Lisa.
And I'm Tony.
And this has been the Saying Yes Again podcast. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful evening.